Are you thinking about investing into real estate and you're not really sure where to start? In this video, I'm going to be giving you the ultimate buyer's guide to investing into real estate. Now, if this is the first time that you're checking out my channel, my name is Seanu Uyehara. I'm a branch manager with Loan Depot, helping you finance your homes all across America. Whether you're purchasing your first home, buying your first rental property, or looking to buy a vacation home, or simply needing to refinance your property, we've got you covered from coast to coast. You can hit the description for links to more information below, and we can always provide you a free mortgage analysis if you're unsure about what mortgage product is the best one for you. If you do find this video helpful, make sure to share this with your friends and family and subscribe to my channel as I drop new content every single week to help you get your mortgage right. Now, like I mentioned, we're talking about the ultimate buyer's guide to real estate investing. Now, for some of you, this may seem very basic, but for a lot of you, this will be kind of a good foundation for you to start your real estate investing, some things to really consider as you are looking for property, and some things that I've done over the years that have helped me build a real estate portfolio. And I'm just going to share some of those secrets with you folks. So the first thing I want to talk about is the 4 benefits to real estate investing. And number 1, it's appreciation. Now, for those of you that have been renting and thinking about buying over the last several years, we've all seen how much home values have been increasing over the last several years. In fact, over the last several years, we've had almost record appreciation nearly every single year. In most parts of the country, people are seeing double-digit percentages of appreciation. For example, if you bought a house, let's say for $400,000 last year, and you've seen a 10% appreciation, you would have literally made $40,000 of equity in your property just by simply living in your home. Many of you first-time home buyers or investors, if you're still on the sidelines paying someone else's rent, you're not getting to see the upside of the appreciation. And that is one of the best things about owning real estate. Another benefit to owning real estate is cash flow. I personally love cash flow. So when I look to buy investment properties, that's one of the most important things that I'm looking for, is how much passive income can I create every single month. Now, let's just use a rough number of $500 per property. If you owned 4 or 5 other rental homes that are paying you $400 or $500 a month, you're making $2,000 to $2,500 a month in rental income that's passive, which then helps you leave your 9 to 5. And so many of you out there are looking for ways, side hustles, to get you out of the rat race, the 9 to 5, and now you can become your own boss, become an entrepreneur, and find ways to generate income in your sleep. And I love the cash flow aspect about owning real estate. And number 3, it's all the tax benefits that come along with owning property, like depreciation, writing off your mortgage interest, and property tax deductions, as well as a 1031 exchange, which I will go into a little more details later. But for those of you that know what a 1031 exchange is, you understand how powerful it is to defer those capital gains when you sell an investment property. Again, another big benefit to owning real estate. And last but not least is leverage. Real estate is a great asset class that you don't have to have a bunch of money in order to acquire a home. Again, let's say you find a house for $400,000. You don't need to pay $400,000 in cash just to acquire the property. In some instances, if you're living in the home, you can put as little as 3.5% down, which is, let's just say, $12,000 plus your closing costs in order to get into a property. That is one of the best things about real estate. You don't have to put all your money into one deal. Unlike stocks and some of these other things that you invest in, it has to be all of your capital in order for you to acquire that stock or to make that investment. Another vital part that goes along with investing in real estate is what I like to call the 3 P's, which is planning, persistence, and patience. Now, when you are planning your real estate investing, you really need to think about the location. Where are you looking to buy? Is this going to be a home that you are going to live in? Is this going to be a property that you are looking to rent out and try to build up some cash flow, or even possibly a vacation home? Do you want something near the beach, or did you want something in the mountains so you can enjoy maybe going up there in the wintertime and skiing and snowboarding and whatever else you might end up doing with a home out in the woods? Now, as you're also planning, another thing that you really need to think about is your credit score. Now, so many of you will look at websites such as Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, just to give you an idea of what your score is. But remember, don't take that for gospel, because more often than not, the credit scores that we see on those types of websites are typically 50 or more points higher than what your actual credit score is when a lender like myself pulls your credit report. So remember, those sites are great at just keeping a good pulse on what your credit score is, but that's not what your score will be when a lender looks at your credit report. So if you are unsure about your credit history or what's on there because you might have made a few mistakes earlier in life, you have to face those demons, because that could be something that will always hold you back from purchasing a home. So make sure that you get really familiar with your credit score and your credit history. Now, another thing that you really need to think about in this planning process is to think about your income. The reason why I talk about income during the planning section is because many of you may be self-employed, or you're running your own business, or you're an independent contractor of some sort, and you think that, hey, I had a great year last year, I made $300,000, but you're unfamiliar with your tax returns. Now, when a lender looks at your tax returns when you're self-employed, we're going to be looking at your net income. Now, there are certain things that we can add back, but it's usually not enough to make a big difference as far as you qualifying for a traditional mortgage. For example, let's say again, you made $300,000. Your CPA did an amazing job and wrote off a ton of expenses for you to minimize your tax liability, which is what most people do. The problem is, if you made $300,000 and let's just say you showed on your taxes that you made $100,000, as a lender, we will use the $100,000 as your income to qualify you. So this is where you need to plan ahead and know that if you are trying to qualify for a traditional mortgage, make sure you know your numbers, because the last thing you'd want to do is think that a lender is going to use your $300,000 because you're having a great year, or let's say you're midway through the year and you're on pace to do more, but you haven't filed those returns yet. So there's a lot of nuances that we look at as a mortgage lender to qualify you for your home loan. So make sure that during this planning process, you get real familiar with the location of where you're buying, your income, and your credit, because those three things will determine how much house you can qualify for, and of course, where you end up purchasing at the end of the day. The second P is persistence. You have to be persistent with your home search. There's many times that you may look at one property and it doesn't fit what you're looking for, and then you may stop looking for a home. Life gets in the way, you get busy, now you get sidetracked with your investment goals. So being persistent, setting goals, constantly looking at deals and opportunities, I think is a good way to keep you in line. Last year, I bought several rental properties. I had then focused on some other investment opportunities, so I really wasn't paying attention to other rental homes that I could have purchased. Now I'm back into looking at rental properties. So I literally look at opportunities almost every single day. I'm analyzing deals every day. Even though I may not want to buy a house today, I may be ready in the next 30, 60, 90 days, but I am looking every day to get myself in the habit of looking at homes, doing the analysis and crunching numbers, so that way when I'm ready to make the offers, I know that the realtors that I'm working with will be ready to start firing off those offers and try to find my next rental property. So don't give up if the first offer that you make doesn't get accepted. And last but not least, patience. Real estate's a long-term play. Now for some of you, you might want to flip a home and make some quick money, which is great and more power to you. But remember, not all wins in real estate need to be home runs. Sometimes we just need to get on base. And that's how I look at building up a rental portfolio, because every single property that I purchase is just me getting on base. And every month that I start to receive more and more cash flow, it's just me hitting another single. I'm not worried about hitting the home run, because as I acquire more homes in the next 20, 30, 40 years, however long that takes, the homes will get paid off. Cash flow will also increase with inflation and also cost of living and everything else that goes along with owning property. So in the long run, things are going to look amazing. For example, right now, between the 5 properties that I own that are rentals, I just did some future calculations for this video just to give me a rough idea. What I ended up finding out that with just a simple 3.5% increase each year on my rents, my overall cash flow on my rent in 20 years from now will be close to $15,000 a month. And the value of those properties are going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.7 to $1.8 million. How cool is that? My daughter has no idea that I'm building all this stuff for her, but in 20 or so years, these properties will be paid off. They'll be worth nearly $2 million, bringing in close to $15,000 a month in passive income. So that's the home run to me. And that's why you have to stay patient, even though there may be some ups and downs while you own your properties or how you get to the final end result. But just remember, keep your eyes on the prize, because that's where the gold is, and that's where the huge benefit will pay off eventually for you and your family. Now let's talk about the types of investing you can do in real estate. Most commonly, people always look at residential single family homes. That also encompasses townhomes and condos. The one thing to really think about with condos though is the HOA fees. Depending on the building that you're buying into, there may be really expensive fees. So make sure you do your due diligence on the HOA, because if you miscalculate that number or you don't account for it, that could definitely kill your overall return that you are calculating. Now, you can also look at multi-units, duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. Just remember, anything above a fourplex is considered a commercial deal. So in the residential world, we will only finance up to 4 units as a fourplex. You can buy a fourplex as a primary residence, or you can simply buy it as a rental. You could also look at commercial buildings and multi-units, so 5 units and up. Again, that's considered commercial. That's a great way when you look at apartment buildings to build cash flow. It's one of the best ways to go about it. Self-storage was actually doing really well the last several years. That's also another investment vehicle in the commercial space. You can look at flipping homes. So for all of you HGTV fans out there that love to see these before and afters, that's a great way to build some quick income. You also have real estate investment trusts that are a little more passive, where you invest your money and you're investing into bigger funds that they then manage your money for you. Short-term rentals, this became really popular in the last few years with people buying Airbnbs. You could buy turnkey rentals, which is where another company will go out and purchase a distressed home. They'll do the renovation, they'll get the tenant in, and basically you buy the after product. I like that because it eliminates a lot of the headache of work that I need to do up front, and everything's already done. Yes, you do pay a premium, but as long as the numbers work out, I don't see anything wrong with going through a turnkey rental company. You could also look at real estate investment funds. Some of these funds do require you to be an accredited investor. So your net worth has to be at least over $1 million, and that does not include your primary residence. And you have to have made at least $200,000 in the last couple of years in order to be considered a accredited investor. But that's another passive way that you can put some money into a fund. They manage it, they acquire properties, you just receive the tax benefits of owning, and you also get the passive income as well. So that's another great way that you can start building your real estate portfolio without technically going out and purchasing a home or a building. The next part that you really want to focus on is building your team. So as you're building your team, I'm going to give you a few ideas of people that you really want to have in your corner. First up, you want a good realtor that understands investing, that probably owns some rental properties themselves, and they're not just renting, because you need the inside scoop on the neighborhoods, the market, and everywhere that you're looking to purchase, especially if you're looking at buying a house in a state or in a location that you are unfamiliar with or you don't even live in. The second key piece to the team is having a good lender by your side, because let me tell you, as a lender myself, it makes the investing really easy when I can work with the same person over and over again. I like speed, I like efficiency when I do my own deals. So the loan officers that I work with here at Loan Depot, they know my file inside and out. I don't have to repeat things to them. They know exactly what to do. They can copy and paste the old information to the new, and I can get through my process much quicker than trying to shop around 5 other lenders, see who's got the best rate, and then go through that whole process. Now, I'm okay with paying a slightly higher interest rate because I value the ability to move faster, get my approvals done quicker, and peace of mind knowing that I know my deal is not going to fall apart because that other loan officer that I'm dealing with doesn't know how to call me back on time. So make sure you keep that in mind as you're shopping for your lender. And another part, if you are investing and buying rental properties, is I would definitely recommend getting a property manager. Some people that I've spoke to don't like them because they take a percentage off the rents, but hey, to me, the 8 to 10% that they do take is totally fair. And I think honestly, it's probably even less than what they really should be earning every single month, because when you do have an issue that comes up, your property manager deals with that for you, and they really help you throughout the process. Now, I will tell you about one of my properties right now that I'm dealing with a massive headache. I just found out there was a storm out in Arkansas and my house got hit by lightning. What are the odds? The house burned down. So because I'm not living in Arkansas, my property manager is working with the city and county to get permits, to get the house rehabbed, and also dealing with the insurance company for me. So all of these things you may not take into consideration up front when you're shopping around trying to find a good property manager. But again, find someone who's in the business, they have a good reputation, and they're going to be by your side, because when things hit the fan like it did for my property last week, I am so glad that I have someone great that I can work with that's going to get me through this process. So make sure to stay tuned to my channel, because I will be giving you more updates on this house that got burned down. Another good person to have is an insurance agent. So if you're buying in a certain part of the country and you're going to focus on a specific market, again, having a good agent that you can go to that can get you quotes on properties very quickly and efficiently, because again, having to call different insurance companies to go through the process to talk about the property so they can give you a proper quote takes time. And if you don't have a lot of time, finding one person who can do the job and do it well, to me, it's the best way to go, because now when you go into contract on another house, you can simply make one phone call, give them the address, and let them take it from there. The fifth person you may want to add to your team is a real estate attorney. This is also a great thing to do if you're looking to protect yourself from liability. Of course, there's ways to create LLCs to make sure that you are shielding yourself from the liability of owning more and more real estate. I have an attorney that I work with. As soon as I buy a property or I'm going into contract, I email the team. They tell me exactly what they need as far as creating the LLC, and they handle it from there. They do charge a fee to do that, but again, I like the speed and efficiency of doing it all versus me having to take time out of my day, go to the Secretary of State website, create everything myself. I can pay someone, they can knock it out, and again, I can focus on what I can do best, which is finding more deals for myself. And last but not least, as you're acquiring these properties, you need a good CPA. And to me, finding a good CPA who understands real estate investing is really, really key, because they're going to know to look for certain write-offs and certain things that you could do to help minimize your tax bill, because the more properties that you get, you're going to have more things to look for and more work that's going to go into doing your taxes every year. So again, finding someone who's familiar with it and that can handle the amount of properties or investments that you have, that can make it very, very streamlined. Now, in our next point, I'm going to be covering financing. Financing is really important. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, as you plan your process, you need to figure out, how are you going to acquire these homes? Are you going to pay all cash? Are you going to look for financing through a traditional lender? Are you going to look for hard money financing or private financing? Or are you someone who wants to include the renovations into a home loan, like a renovation loan? So there's so many different ways that a lender can get you from point A to point B. I think this is why it's super important that you should work with a good lender that you start building a relationship with, because that's going to be something that both you and the lender can collaborate on as you look to acquire more homes. Because in the mortgage industry, things change constantly. What could be a program today that may help you could very well go away in 6 months. And vice versa. There could be nothing today, and in 3 to 6 months, a lender could come out with a new creative way in order to get you financing. And this happens all the time. And this is why the relationship is important, because your lender will give you the roadmap as to how you can acquire these properties with the least amount of money, or if you are on a budget, how do you stretch that as much as possible while you can still go out and acquire more rental homes and accomplish your goals. Now, for all of you that are on social media, you've been seeing this a lot more lately. People talk about house hacking. House hacking is a great way. If you're living in the home, you can rent out your rooms to other roommates. That helps offset your costs of living in the property. Many people at that time then move out of the home, turn it into a rental, and they look to go buy another property. So that's one out of the box way that many people are buying homes to at least get their foot in the door and purchasing their first property. And like I mentioned, a renovation loan. This is a great, and actually it's a very underutilized program out there in the lending world, because as you acquire properties, you can actually finance the cost of the renovations into your mortgage up front. So many of you think that you have to move into the home. What usually happens is you'll go to Lowe's or Home Depot, and then you will get a credit card, and you try to put all the renovation work on a credit card in hopes to pay it off before the 0% introductory period expires. More often than not, that usually never happens. Then you get stuck with another credit card that's at a 20% interest rate that eats into your cash flow. So you can actually finance the cost of these renovations up front. Again, if this fits your boat, make sure you talk to your lender about a renovation loan. I also mentioned hard money. So if you don't have great credit, or maybe you really need to move on something quickly, you could look at a hard money loan. Again, those interest rates are ugly. You're looking at 10, 12%. However, they can move pretty quick when it comes to closing on a property. So depending on what your situation is, you may want to talk to a lender first before going down that route. And as most of our properties have been appreciating amazingly over the last several years, many people are starting to look at home equity line of credits, or HELOCs. This is another great way to come up with down payment money to purchase a property. So stay tuned, because Loan Depot, we are actually rolling out a HELOC program where we can get these done within 7 days. It's going to be the industry's first all digital home equity line of credit. And I can't wait to share with you guys more details. So make sure you stay tuned. If you need more information, you can actually send me an email and I'll put you on our waiting list. That way, when we do roll the program, you'll be the first to know. And last but not least, another way to come up with your financing is through a life insurance policy. There's universal policies out there that you can contribute money to and that you can actually pull money out of. I have a policy right now that I put money in throughout the year, and as it builds up, if I find a home that I want to borrow the money and use that as a down payment, I can do that. And the cool thing is the money that I've already put into the life insurance policy continues to grow at a certain amount of interest every single year. So now I can almost double dip with my policy gaining more equity and then using those funds to go buy another home that's going to bring in more money as well. So that's another creative way that you can use some money for a down payment to acquire your properties. And if you're still watching this video, make sure to comment below HELOC, HELOC, just to let me know that you're still watching and you're interested in our home equity line of credit program. This is going to be huge news for the industry once we roll this out. Now, last but not least, you've bought your home, you've maintained your home, but maybe you're thinking about selling. How do you sell your property? There's a few ways that you can sell your home. First and most obvious is through a real estate agent. But maybe the realtor that helped you find your home is still keeping in touch with you, giving you some market data. Maybe you'd like to use them in order to sell your property as well. If you don't want to pay commissions to a real estate agent, you could obviously look at another way to sell, which is called a FSBO, or in our industry, we call it a FSBO, which is a for sale by owner. Many times homeowners don't want to pay commissions to real estate agents, so they can list their property themselves, manage it on other websites, and try to market the home to sell it without paying the commissions. I wouldn't personally recommend that. I would just hire a real estate agent and make sure you hire a good one so you know they're going to work for you, and that way they earn the commissions. Another portion is seller financing, where you can become the bank. So instead of actually selling the property, you can sign a contract with the buyer. They can pay you X amount per month, X amount per interest until a certain period where either they need to pay off the loan in full with a balloon payment, or they'd have to refinance or get into some sort of permanent finance. So that's another way that you could technically sell your property. And last but not least, when you sell, you want to look at doing a 1031 exchange, which is where you defer your capital gains. This is huge in the world of real estate because as you sell your home, instead of paying taxes on that money and the profits that you made, you can then roll that into another deal. So now you can keep trading up to bigger properties that are paying you more income, and now you just continue to win through real estate. There's a lot more that can go into real estate investing, but this is a general overview of things that I like to keep in mind when I'm looking at buying property or giving some advice to a first-time home buyer or even a first-time investor. So I hope you enjoyed this list. If you have any specific questions as to how you can acquire a property, make sure to hit the description and email me below with your questions and scenarios, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. And again, if you enjoyed this video, share this with your friends and family, and I appreciate that, and I'll see you on the next video.